Hello everyone, welcome to Scalia.com. My name is Mohammad Osama and today we are going to talk about the vascular system and its pathologies. The first topic in this series of lecture is going to be regarding the arterial disorders. In this lecture, we're going to talk about the arteriosclerosis, the types of arteriosclerosis, as well as atherosclerosis. So what is arteriosclerosis? It is actually the thickening and hardening of the walls of the arteries, occurring typically in old age. So in order to understand how the thickening and hardening of the walls of the arteries occur, we need to understand what are actually the different types of or the different components of the wall of the arteries. So there are three major components. In the center, there is the lumen surrounded by three different layers. The innermost layer is known as the tunica intima, which is also known as endothelium, and it is composed of endothelial cells. The second is the tunica media, which is composed of smooth muscle cells, which are actually the cause of vasoconstriction and vasodilation because of their contractile activity. And the outermost layer is known as the tunica externa, or also known as tunica adventitia. It is actually composed of loosely packed collagen fibers as well as elastin fibers. Now, talking about arteriosclerosis, there are different types of arteriosclerosis. One is Monckeberg arteriosclerosis, one is arteriolosclerosis, and one is atherosclerosis, which is most commonly known as well. So let's start off with the Monckeberg arteriosclerosis. It is also known as medial calcific sclerosis, which means that calcific deposits are actually found in the tunica media, which is the central layer. It involves the media of medium-sized arteries. Now, as you can see in this picture as well, now this is the tunica intima, this is the tunica media, and this is the tunica externa or tunica adventitia. And you can see that there is actually calcific deposits in the middle layer, which is the tunica media. And that is the characteristic feature of the Monckeberg arteriosclerosis. And that's why it is also characterized by ring-like calcification in the arteries, or specifically medium-sized arteries. This is most commonly found in radial and ulnar arteries of the upper extremity. Now, Monckeberg arteriosclerosis does not necessarily obstruct blood flow because tunica intima, or the endothelial layer, is actually not involved. But still, it is known as stiff calcific arteries or pipestem arteries as well. And they can also be found in adjunction, or they can also coexist with atherosclerosis. Now, let's look at the arteriosclerosis. Now, arteriolosclerosis, as the name suggests, arteriolo, so it means it is a disorder of small arteries or arterioles. And it is characterized by hyaline thickening or proliferative disorders of these small arteries. It is most common in kidneys, and that is why it is also associated with hypertension and diabetes mellitus. Why is it associated with hypertension? Because as it is most common in kidneys, so when the blood flow to the kidneys is disrupted, then that results in the activation of renin-angiotensin system, which results in hypertension or increased blood pressure. Now, there are two types of arteriolosclerosis. One is the hyaline arteriolosclerosis and one is the hyperplastic arteriolosclerosis. So hyaline arteriolosclerosis is actually a less severe form and is characterized by hyaline thickening of arteriolar walls, as you can see in this picture. In kidneys, it is called as benign nephrosclerosis associated with hypertension. The second is hyperplastic arteriosclerosis, in which there is marked concentric laminated onion skin thickening of the arterial walls. As you can see, this onion-like appearance on hyperplastic arteriolosclerosis. It is accompanied by necrotizing arteriolitis, which means inflammation of the arterioles, and specifically necrosis in the tunica media of the arterioles, which is the smooth muscle layer or smooth muscle lining of the arteries or arterioles. In kidneys, it is called as malignant nephrosclerosis and associated with malignant hypertension, so it is in terms more severe than the hyaline arteriosclerosis. Now let's talk about the atherosclerosis, which is a very common term heard by different clinicians and patients as well. So atherosclerosis is a disease in which a plaque builds up inside the arteries, and that plaque is actually a fatty plaque. It is the most frequent cause of morbidity caused by any vascular disease. Now, if you look at this picture, now this is a normal artery. Now there is a pretty much wide lumen here, and the blood can flow easily and smoothly in this normal artery. But what happens in arteriosclerosis is that there is actually a fibrotic plaque here. Now this plaque narrows the lumen of the blood vessel or the artery, thus impairing the blood flow. So this narrowed artery would actually lead in impaired blood flow or blood supply to the areas that it is supplying. Now, what are the characteristics of atherosclerosis? These are actually characterized by fibrous plaques, also known as atheromas, within the tunica intima of the arteries. Now, tunica intima is the innermost layer of the arteries or the arterioles, which is actually composed of the endothelial cells. Now, the proximal portions of the coronary arteries, larger branches of the carotid arteries, circle of Willis in the cerebrum or in the brain, and large vessels of the lower extremity and renal and mesenteric arteries are the most common sites or locations for atherosclerosis. Now, the atherosclerotic plaque have two distinct regions or zones. One is the central core and the second is the fibrous cap. Now, in the central core, you would find that it is composed of cholesterol, lipid-laden macrophages, which have capped that lipid, and these lipid-laden macrophages then convert into foam cells, which is also found in the central core, and calcium and necrotic debris. On the other hand, the fibrous cap, which is here, this is the lipid core and this is the fibrous cap. This fibrous cap is actually composed of smooth muscle cells, foam cells, which are actually formed by the lipid-laden macrophages, fibrin, coagulation proteins, extracellular matrix, collagen, elastin, glycosaminoglycans, and proteoglycans. These plaques can actually be complicated further by ulceration or hemorrhage into the plaque. Calcification of plaque can also complicate the condition, as well as thrombus formation, which would actually result in clotting of the blood and dislodgement of any particle, which would lead to embolization, which is a life-threatening condition. Now, it is actually also characterized by a fatty streak, which is the first observation in atherosclerosis, and then that fatty streak then leads to the formation of a characteristic atheroma. Now here we can also visually appreciate the process or the characteristics of atherosclerosis. So this is the normal blood vessel which we already observed. Now here you can see that this process actually starts off with the formation of the fatty streak in the tunica intima. So this fatty streak is actually lipids consisting of cholesterol and triglycerides, and they are deposited in the artery lining, forming a fatty streak. Now this progresses to the formation of a characteristic atheroma, and this atheroma formation is actually because of the buildup of the lipids in the artery lumen, and thus impairing the blood flow by causing the narrowing of the blood vessels. And if this progresses further on, then it results in a fibrous plaque and blockage and thus impaired blood flow. How does this happen? As fibers go within the fatty layers, the atheroma begins to harden and thus forming a plaque. This reduces the blood flow, and the lumen is severely narrowed, and this results in complete blockage occurs as a blood clot fills the lumen space, and thus no blood flow occurs, which can result in ischemia and necrosis of the tissues that it is supplying. Now, what are the consequences of this condition? The consequences of the atherosclerosis, most importantly, are the stroke and ischemic heart disease or myocardial infarction. And ischemic heart disease or myocardial infarction is also the most common cause of death in the United States. On the other hand, stroke from cerebral ischemia infarction can also occur as a manifestation or consequence of atherosclerosis. Other consequences include ischemic bowel disease, peripheral vascular occlusive disease, renal arterial ischemia, and weakening of the vessel wall, which may also lead to aneurysm formation, which is the dilation of the walls of the blood vessels, specifically arteries and arterioles. Now, what are the risk factors for atherosclerosis? What are the factors that actually result in the formation of the atheromas? So the incidence of atherosclerosis increases with age. So age is a risk factor, and it is a non-modifiable risk factor. It is more common in men and specifically in post-menopausal women as well. Other than that, hypercholesterolemia, which is the elevated serum cholesterol, is also an important risk factor for atherosclerosis. Now, this hypercholesterolemia can be either exogenous because of the dietary sources, or it can either be endogenous because of biosynthetic factors. So the important thing is that there should be an ideal ratio between low-density lipoproteins and high-density lipoproteins, and that ratio should be between or around 4:1. Now, total cholesterol concentrations and higher level of low-density lipoproteins can lead to atherosclerosis, and that is why low-density lipoproteins are also known as bad cholesterol. On the other hand, a greater quantity of high-density lipoproteins or a greater ratio of high-density lipoproteins would result in a decreased risk for the development of atherosclerosis. So high-density lipoproteins have an inverse relationship with the atherosclerosis. So that is why they are known as good cholesterol as well. Now, hypertension is also an important risk factor for atherosclerosis, and similarly, cigarette smoking and diabetes mellitus as well, which is associated with premature atherosclerosis. And atherosclerotic peripheral vascular occlusive disease often leads to gangrene in diabetes mellitus patient, which often leads to amputation of that body part or that limb as well. Other than that, physical activity, obesity, type A personality with stress and hyperuricemia and oral contraceptives, these are actually modifiable risk factors, and they also contribute in the development of atheroma and atherosclerosis. Now, pathogenesis of atherosclerosis. So the pathogenesis, there are different theories which are present, but the most well-known and widely accepted theory is actually the response to injury theory. In this theory, it specifies that the earliest event in the atherogenesis is injury to the endothelium in the tunica intima, which can be triggered by a number of insults, a number of factors, either alone or in combination with each other. So under normal conditions, leukocytes do not bind with the endothelial layer, but in case of an injury to the endothelial layer, the leukocytes then adhere to these endothelial layer and results an inflammatory response. So as you can see here, once the injury to endothelial layer or the tunica intima occurs, then the vessel cell adhesion molecules are activated and they bind the leukocytes or monocytes to the endothelial cells, and then they migrate from the vascular lumen to the inside. Now, these migrating monocytes are then converted into macrophages, and they take up low density lipoproteins, and they have the tendency to keep them. So what happens is that they are actually converted from monocytes to lipid-laden monocytes, and those lipid-laden monocytes are then converted into foam cells. And eventually the foam cells will undergo apoptosis or programmed cell death, but the lipid will accumulate in the intima, and this would result in the formation of the atherosclerotic plaque or the atheroma. So that was all about the arterial disorders of the vascular system. We talked about the arteriosclerosis, the type of arteriosclerosis, and specifically the atherosclerosis. So please stay tuned to scaria.com and watch the other lectures in this series as well. Thank you.